You may be thinking to yourself if it's better to rent or to buy in this current climate. Well, in this article by stories.com, it goes into exactly that topic where you're going to see a poll that was conducted that asks some of these renters about their thoughts on purchasing a home in the future or why they're not looking to purchase. All right, so 1/3 of Canadian renters say they don't have plans to buy a home. Well, despite improving affordability, it's still a mixed bag when it comes to Canadian renters' sentiments regarding homeownership, many waiting for prices to drop further, while some have even given up on the idea entirely. And this is according to Royal LePage's 2025 Canadian Renters Report. Now, since last May, national average rent has dropped 3.6% to $1,857 for one bedroom and 4.6% to $2,225 for two bedroom. And that's according to rentals.ca and Urban Nation's May Rent Report. In the report, the president and CEO, Phil Soper of Royal LePage, he identifies that record purpose-built rental and condo completions and international student reductions as the driving factors behind this rent decline. He also highlights how renters are benefiting from lower rents, where tenants now are in a better position to secure rentals with more space, upgraded amenities, or more desirable locations, often at more competitive prices. Today's rental environment, it is an improvement when you look compared to 2022, when rent prices did peak following a string of interest rate hikes. But Royal LePage points out that while rents have eased for 8 consecutive months, they remain well above historical norms. And in fact, rents were 5.7% higher today compared to 2 years ago, and 12.6% higher when you compare that to 2022. So if you continue in the report, it says, as we said before, 1/3 of Canadians, they don't have a plan to purchase a home. But out of those people, 53% say the reason is because inadequate income as for their main reason to not get in the market. And this is not a surprise, given that the average rents have risen 4.1% annually, which outpaces wage growth. And meanwhile, cost of living continues to take away the monthly savings, as 40% of renters have reduced spending on groceries and 30% have reduced contributions to savings or retirements. Now, the other reasons for not wanting to purchase a home, 40% of people say it's due to rent being more affordable than owning, with another 40% of people saying they don't want to take on the responsibilities of maintaining property. So true, I can say that in this current market, renting is cheaper than owning when you compare the mortgage prices of today and when you have additional expenses as an owner, such as property taxes, maintenance fees, upkeep of the home, appliances. When you're renting, you only have to worry about the rental price and maybe utilities. On the flip side, however, when you rent, you're always spending that money, but you never get anything back. As an owner, you're putting that money into your home's equity and you're building the equity over time. So as we continue on, they'll see that more than half say they still do plan to purchase a home, and 16% of those people, they say they plan to do so in the next 2 years, while 21% of people want to purchase the next 2 to 5 years. Another question was asked about whether renters would consider purchasing over renewing their current lease, and they found that 28% did want to make that leap, but 40% of the respondents decided to wait for prices to come down further. 29% were waiting for lower interest rates, and 28% want to continue renting as it allows them to save for a down payment. Interestingly, over the past 75 years, Canadian home values have risen approximately 5% annually, and that runs consistently ahead of inflation. So the window of opportunity be narrower than it appears, and strategic buyers are beginning. So yes, we have fluctuations in the market, but if you look over the long horizon, we've generally been appreciating in home values. So that's why they say real estate really is a long-term investment. People are asked which policies would help improve their renter affordability. 56% of tenants called for more affordable housing units, 47% calls for increased tenant protections against evictions and unfair rent increases, and 42% want better rent control. So my perspective on this is that we do need more affordable rental units for especially newcomers, students, people who are just starting out in life. There's definitely not enough of that available. So for those seriously considering buying in the future, but hoping for the best optimal time. Well, I would say now is the perfect time simply because of the amount of housing supply available at a discount. Now, for how long will this last? Or will this actually be the bottom of the market? No one really knows. Even if we were at the bottom, you have to think about the fact that even if you're at the bottom of the market, chances are you're gonna have to compete for that home that you really want, that's listed at a very good price without the guarantee that it's going to sell at that price. So those are things to keep in mind. When you have less competition, you typically have more negotiating power. If you have more options to choose from, you have a better chance of getting the price point that you're looking for. So really consider that fact when you're trying to decide whether now is better or the future is better. So the window of opportunity may be narrower than it actually appears. So despite a modest rental market cool down, the affordability crisis still remains, and a significant portion of renters, especially those with constrained incomes, lack of financial resources, or motivation to buy. But still looks like a majority still hold on to homeownership hopes in the medium future. So leave your comment below, let me know your thoughts. Should these renters looking to buy continue to wait, or is now the best time for them to get in the market when you have a lot of inventory available, especially if it's for them to live in? Till then, talk to you guys soon. Cheers.